Hey everyone, we are playing Palana. We're up against Omar, and I have a special treat for you. We're going to be playing a best of 3 series against Crunchums and this Omar deck, piloting Crunchums and TF34's own list. And this is the Palana list that won a Store Championship. I will have the link for you below the video. And right now I had a sort of mediocre opening. I had a bunch of ice and a bunch of defensive upgrades and no money. So not a great start for this deck. My inclination was to turtle up here and to ice HQ to R&D. And what I probably should have been doing is creating a scoring remote, but we'll see how that goes. Now, looks like Crunchums has a very good start. He has Liberated. He's drawing for some econ. He's going to find a data folding. So he's playing a kind of bendy Omar, discarding a Black Orchestra into the heap. Now, I drew a fast track, which is definitely what the deck wants to do. It wants to push Nisei MK IIs as fast as possible. So we're going to try to set up and do that. So we put the Seidr barrier on the remote, but the Amakua comes down with a Film Critic, and that is really, really bad for me. The only consolation is that Crunchums face checks into a Fairchild 2. If it was a Fairchild 3, I would have been way happier, but I'm not playing that card, obviously, because I'm playing Obokata. So he's going to lose 2 credits, he's going to trash the Film Critic, and he's going to take a Brain. And he's going to see a card, which is fine. It's not the best start for me, for sure, but it could be worse than just outright losing to Film Critic. He probably has another one in the deck as well, so he's charging up the Amakua, which is what he wants to be doing. Gets it to 1 so that any Komainus are basically dead to him, so he's going to be in a good spot right now. I throw the Ash on the remote with a Braintrust, and I'm trying to push this turn. I don't really have enough credits to do so. This is a little bit ambitious. So he runs and doesn't have a paperclip, so I res the barrier and he's going to bounce. But now I've got like very little money, and he's going to go archives or R&D and see what's there. However, he is going to end up taking a tag, taking the trace, and ending the run. So that's not bad. And what do we have next? So probably just going to clear tags and end the turn, I assume. Pretty good here. Yeah, it's pretty rough. That's a brutal ice right now. Yeah. All right, so we might stabilize. We might be able to get this Braintrust off, and I'm not sure we're going to actually be able to stop him because he's probably going to have Turning Wheel coming soon, so we'll see what happens. All right, so we draw a Hedge Fund, which is good for us. I think we're just going to have to click up for credits. We're so low on credits that it's not looking good. So now he actually has some time to go after that agenda. We can't res the Komainu on archives yet. So he's going to see a card in R&D. It's fine. Not ideal, definitely not ideal. So it's his next play. Probably just needs to run one more time. Yeah, so he's going to run one more time, get the counter, and then go for the Seidr barrier and check that remote, clear that remote. And we have a little issue here. So for those of you who don't know, on Jinteki.net, Aomakua does not give you a counter for running an empty server. It should, though. So for some reason, it's coded to not give you a counter if you run archives and see no cards, but you should actually get an extra counter. So it has to be done manually with the / counter in whatever number the counter is. So we're going to check this ruling really fast, something that I really wanted to make sure about, and it's something I actually have checked before, so just to read it again, yes, it does get the counter. Go back to the game, inform our friend, and yes, let's continue with the game. Alright, sounds good. So he's going to break the Seidr barrier. We're going to have to res Ash. I don't know if we even should res Ash at this point. Like, we're going to, but it might just be incorrect. Saving the 2 credits could get us closer to that hedge fund. So it might have just been better to just leave it. Actually, it's probably objectively better to leave it and not bother resing it. So we're not looking too bad. We lost our Braintrust. A green level clearance, which draws us directly into a Nisei. That's bad. We're going to get some money and see what he does. He's on very few credits. 0 credits to be exact. And but the Amakua is ticking up with every run, so yeah, it's a little bit rough. So Crunchums is thinking about what he should do this turn. Probably he's going to get some money and maybe run. He's going to run. Okay. So big question is, do we res this Komainu? And I'm going to do it. I'm trying to tax his money, and I'm trying to tax his cards. And this would be a much juicier Komainu if he had 5 or 6 cards in hand. But because he doesn't, yeah, I think it was just probably incorrect to do this. So, a bunch of misplays on my part, but against very aggressive runners like Omar or Max, it could be beneficial, especially in a Max matchup, to ping him a couple of cards here and there. In this case, I don't think it was worth it. I think it was a mistake, but that's okay. He accesses Obokata Protocol, but can't steal it, so... Alright, so now I have a decision. Do I push in this remote, or do I just slam the Batty in there and click for some money? Looks like I'm going to choose to... Probably going to put this Batty there. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do here. I think I turtle up too much here. So I'm going to archives... Probably archives Batty? Yeah, this seems like a mistake. Yeah. So archives on Batty and then ice up, or credit up. Does not seem like a very strong play. I am so in want of ice right now, though. It's not even funny. What can I do at this point? I'm just going to run over. I think that the big problem right now is that I got too aggressive with my ice resing early, and I needed to just push in that remote. I need to make that remote scary, especially against an aggressive Anarch like Omar. This is a definite problem about not playing too many Omar matches. You see a lot more Val matches, and you have a little more time to set up. And this Omar deck is very aggressive. So Crunchums is going to ask if I have a pre-res, which I don't. I was hoping he didn't have an I've had worse in hand, but he did. So we ended up just pinging a card out of hand, and it wasn't really that much worth it. I was hoping that he didn't have an I've had worse in hand and we could threaten to kill him with Marcus Batty. Sadly, that wasn't the case, but let's see what he does next. So our goal here is now to draw something good. We are in some serious trouble, but we end up drawing an Obokata. That's not great. He already ran, so Shipment from Tennin is off, and I'm sure he knows that Shipment from Tennin is in our hand. It is his deck, so we're going to have some trouble using that. One thing we could do here is we could jam in the remote and just hope, but we're just going to click for some money. Let's see what happens here. It's a really rough spot for us, honestly. I'm not 100% sure if we can win at this point. Okay, we have an IPO, so we can credit up. We can jam, credit, and IPO, which is what we're probably going to do. Oh no, I'm going to go for the Shipment from Tennin. I think this is okay. Like, if he's really low on deck size, and if I suspect that we could probably get him down to 3 cards, we can start scoring Obokatas, provided we don't see him hit a film critic. But sadly, just more money from our Omar opponent. but I'm not really sure we can win this game. But I'm going to pretend like we can. So we can get some money next turn. We can start jamming. Hopefully we get an ice. If we get some ice, we're in better shape. So, ice. Alright, we got Komainu. So, where's this Komainu going to go? This Komainu needs to go on the remote. Let's put the Komainu on the remote. I think if I put it on HQ, that's a mistake. 100% mistake. Yeah. So this is a huge mistake. So my only way to win here is to put the Komainu on the remote and start pressuring by scoring as fast as possible. There is no way I can turtle up against this Omar deck, so my choice to put it on HQ was just simply a mistake. I make a lot of mistakes in this game, but we're going to try to correct them in the next two matches, or next two games of this match. Let's see. Omar is just getting some more stuff, drawing some cards. He's got a lot of money, and we are having some trouble. Okay, there's one film critic in the bin. That's what I'm looking for. Installs Turning Wheel and Ma. Ooh, okay. At this point, my lines are to get some money. First of all, we need money, but we really want this DNA tracker. This DNA tracker could save us. So we can put the DNA tracker on the remote, install Advance, and I don't think he has enough to get in. Or if he does, he's going to be sacrificing a lot. You know, there's a Black Orchestra in there, so that might not be great. Okay, so he's going to Omar run and probably hit HQ here because I iced HQ. So this is another reason why this is a mistake of icing HQ. It draws all the attention to it, and he just has to go archives. So I could see more of an argument for icing archives over the HQ ice. Well, he hits the Obokata, and he has a film critic out, so he's just going to host it. And I think right now he's thinking of whether he's going to spend the 2 clicks taking the Obokata off, or whether he would like to gain some money or draw some cards. Because I think right now either is fine. So money seems fine from liberated accounts. And we see a terrible ice for us. This vanilla is really bad. So I'm going to draw. We see Ash. Ash is fine. Celebrity Gift, not great. What do we do? Credit up? I just feel like very, very defensive at this point. This is a 2 defensive. I'm playing 2 defensive. If I credit, that's better. If I play the Ash into the remote, I think that's wrong. The reason I think it's wrong is because he can go in there and trash it. So we're going to take a credit. He can go in there and trash it, and then what do we do? We're kind of screwed. So he's going to spend 2 clicks to remove Obokata. He doesn't have to do that now. He could do that whenever he wants, but now it would be fine. He does that. And Omar run. We're just getting pummeled right now. Yeah. So this is going to be a run on HQ, and Ma is either going to fire or not. Oh, it fires. No, I want to note that with both of the Ma triggers, Crunchums hit both of our ice, the DNA tracker and the vanilla. We didn't really care about the vanilla, but the DNA tracker was seriously bad for us to lose that. We would have rather lost an agenda in that case. Looks like he's just running archives here to see what he hit. Hit a bunch of ice. He's probably very happy with that. And we see a Marcus Batty. Still no ice that we want. I mean, we should have just probably jammed that DNA tracker. We've had a lot of bad plays in this game. So thinking about our lines to get out of this, I think right now it's Batty Ash the remote and money, or draw Batty Ash or something like that. So if we hit ice, we can go ice archive or ice server 1 and then throw the Batty in there or something like that. But we find a Marilyn, so we're just gonna throw the Marilyn in the remote, and not the Batty because I don't think that's worth it. We throw the Ash in there just to beta run, but at this point I think it's futile. I think this is a futile attempt at getting some money out of our opponent. So I'm going to res the Komainu. Actually, are we going to res the Komainu? It's a lot of money. I think here that as it's just a tax of 4 credits, we're not going to. I think we're just going to end up losing here on HQ. Sees the Obokata Protocol, and that is going to seal our fate. Alright, well, we're going to start again with game number 2 here. We're doing the Palana versus Omar still, and this hand is better. Better than our last hand. We're going to keep it. It has money, it has ice, and it has agendas, so we can push fast with this deck. We can push fast with this hand. That's what we want to do. If we can get to 4 points quickly, that will help us out a lot. I also want to note that I had a long talk to Crunchums about how to play the deck against these aggressive Anarchs, and he said that it's one of the worst matchups. But one of the ways we could do it is by never advancing in remotes. They usually don't run turn 1, getting a couple of points, throwing the Marilyn campaigns out into empty servers as opposed to ice servers, and a couple of changes to the deck as a whole. And the big changes were adding a Seidr barrier for a green level clearance, adding a second fast track, and taking out the snares and playing. What was I playing? I decided to play some Cortex Lock in here. So we're going to play Cortex Lock. It's very good against Reg Anarch because their Sentry Breaker it costs them 5, not including the cost to install the breaker. So that's very good for us. And they usually have Maw. If you're playing like a Reg Anarch with Maw, it's even better because they don't want that to trigger at all. So we're trying this out. I'm just going to jam in this remote. This is a much better start and much more aggressive play, and this is how I should be playing the deck anyway. Usually I do, but had a rough start last game. So we got some money going. Film Critic comes out. That's bad, but it's not the end of the world. So it looks like we're going to score this agenda. We'll get our Philotic out. One thing I could have done is I could have double advanced it and thrown the Ash down. He probably would not have rezzed it. Or sorry, he probably would not have run it. We lose the Ash anyway to the Maw, which is bad. Maw sucks. Don't play Maw. I mean, play Maw, but it's a very good card. It's just frustrating to play against sometimes. He's going to get our Braintrust, and we're left with a very sad Celebrity Gift in hand. Draw Komainu and our Cortex Lock, and he hasn't seen the Cortex Lock, so we're going to throw the Cortex Lock on Archives and the Komainu on R&D. Well, that's good. So at the moment, if he runs the Cortex Lock, unless he has MK Ultra on his Peddler, that is lethal. So we are happy with that. That really slows Anarch down. Okay, Aeneas Informant comes out. He runs to Maw, our useless card. And now we're Hellbent, and we're just basically chilling, trying to push in this remote. And then what do we draw? Cortex Lock. Oh, good. So we're going to throw this on RD. We're going to draw first a couple times. Draw a couple times, a couple more times. That seems fine. I probably should have put that on RD right away. The reason I didn't, I'm not 100% sure why I didn't just slam that on R&D. But okay, so we're gonna hit the Komainu. Do we do this? Probably not. He's probably got an I've had worse in hand anyway, so it's probably not worth it. So he sees a card in R&D. Maw's our fast track, which kind of sucks. It's bad. We should think about pushing with this fast track. And we are going to. Okay, this is actually okay. I'm fine with this play. We have a big ice on that remote and DNA tracker. It doesn't stop the run, but it's going to get some cards out of his hand. It's going to make him a little bit poorer if he wants to go for this. So he is going to go for it. Click 1. And it's going to fire. which I'm fine with, but losing the agenda kind of sucks. We've lost both of our fast tracks. It's okay. We go up, or we go down 2 points. And honestly, Crunchums are looking pretty good. Pretty good right now. Okay. So he's going to run HQ, bounce off the vanilla, run R&D. I'm not going to res the Komainu. There's no reason. Really want to get him to run archives. So he sees nothing. And he could have definitely won here if he found another Obokata. So he's going to trash Marcus Batty off of R&D. And sees another 2 pointers. Okay, so we're down quite a bit. We're not looking very good right now. I'm going to throw the Marilyn in the remote. Go throw the Cortex Lock on R&D here. Got to. So we're going to trash the ice. And click for credit. Yep. We are poor. It's going to drop. Run the remote. Sees nothing. Get the Maw trigger, which is definitely what he wants to be doing every single turn. Getting the value out of that Maw is phenomenal. So we're going to get our money. We're going to ice the remote, I assume. Yep. And just click for some credits. Now this is better. This is much better. We still haven't seen Black Orchestra from him. He's going to get more money, and let's see, and run on R&D. Oh boy, yes, we res the Cortex Lock, and that is game. So there's no MK Ultra on the Peddler. So we get to flatline with Cortex Lock, which is always fun. And then we'll move on to the next game. All right, we are back. And in this one, we have a very good hand. So ice, ice, and a fast track off of our mandatory draw. Fantastic. So we're going to show him our ice, show him our wonderful hand, get some money, and hedge up. So this is a great start unless Omar has Turtle turn 1, which he might. Turtle turn 1 would be very bad for us, but we do have an IP block. So we'll see what happens. It's a very aggressive money play for me. I think it might have been a mistake in just icing. But the problem is, like, if I ice HQ, Omar runs and gets it in HQ. If I ice R&D, Omar runs and gets an R&D, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to ice with the vanilla, ice with the DNA tracker and the remote, and just let's throw this agenda in there. Let's get it out of our hand in case he does draw Maw and starts getting rid of our agendas. I think this is the right play, even though we can't score it next turn. He's not... Yeah, so it is a good play, because Maw came down. So not losing the Nisei, we just lose the IP block, that's fine, is great for us. So we're going to advance it once, throw this on R&D, throw this IP block on R&D. So we don't care about HQ, and we're going to click for credit. There's an MK Ultra in the bin, so now he's not going to get flatlined by Cortex Lock. So he's very happy about that, I'm sure. We're going to lose our fast track, however. There's a little bit of talk about some of the choices in the deck. But yeah, so even though we're looking like we're going to be pushing this Nisei, we're not out of the woods yet. We can definitely just lose to turning wheel lock. Omar is very good at turning wheel locking you, and this deck has a ton of money, so we'll see how it happens here. Telling him about this channel. Sorry for all the chit chat. We will get back to the game in just a second. So getting the first Nisei off is definitely the most important thing that this deck can do. Once you get Nisei off, you can threaten to just run them through the remotes. It actually plays a little bit like a CTM deck that just wants you to force the runner to go through very expensive remotes multiple times. And so Nisei basically means you have to run through that server twice in order to score whatever it is. And if you have an Ash in there, it means it's potentially a third time. And if it's or not at all. And if there's a Batty, there's definitely 1/30 chance that there's a third time. So that's how that works. But it doesn't always work. But now we're in a good spot. Alright, the Omar run, probably going to hit R&D here. Maws are useless. Celebrity Gift. Celebrity Gift is not great against Maw, but good against most runners. Got an IPO. Okay, so we'll draw, and we get a Nisei, so we'll draw Nisei and jam. Probably, I did not have enough money to res everything, so I didn't want to just advance it right away. And if I did advance it, I would be poor anyway, and he'd just probably score it. So my goal here with not advancing it is there's a very good chance he thinks it's an agenda anyway and runs it. And if that's the case, I'd rather have money to res the DNA tracker and possibly recover. But because there's so many Braintrust, there's 3 Braintrusts in the deck anyway, and a Philotic Entanglement. So with this sort of non-advanced play, I don't think it's much options actually. If I left it in hand, it gets mod, so I have to throw it in the remote. But not advancing it is maybe a little bit ambitious. If I advanced it, I think it would have been just fine, but I would have been down some money. Film Critic comes out. That's bad for me. So now he's got Omar turning wheel. So Obokata Protocol is basically like doesn't do anything. Does not see anything, which is great. R&D, having given up the ghost in the first game that we played, is finally repaying me a little bit. Okay, so we got some money. So I'm going to double advance this, and I'm going to hedge fund. And the reason I'm double advancing this is I'm going to make him think it's Obokata. Because if he thinks it's Obokata, he might actually let it through, seeing as how he has the R&D on lock anyway. And even though it gets him closer to winning, you really want to steal the Niseis against this deck. Stealing the Niseis is definitely the best thing you want to do. So if I gave him the impression that it is a Nisei, he would 100% go for it. But I'm trying to make him think that it's not a Nisei. It's a subtle play, but I don't know. I think it might have worked. So we got double Peddler coming down from Crunchums. This is a little scary because he could have any of his breakers. He could be playing Claw in that deck. I don't know if he would, but we're going to res the DNA tracker. It is an expensive piece of ice, but it does a lot of things. Alright, so we hit a bunch of stuff out of his hand. He loses a bunch of money. We're going to hit him with a vanilla, and probably we're going to see a paperclip come out. Yep, so paperclip off of one of the peddlers, and he's going to break, and we're just going to end the run. He can't go back through because he took the damage from the paperclip, or sorry, from the DNA tracker, so that's fine. I actually think that this worked out pretty well. I'm not 100% sure this would have been any different if I had just single advanced the Nisei, but because I double advanced it, I also get a kind of cool play. Like if we did end up drawing something we wanted to play, we can advance, and then play that thing. So that sort of worked out in our favor because we got the IP block off the top. So now Archives is sort of plugged. It's a little bit taxing. He can't play Amakua without risking getting tags every single run, so that's good. We see a Seidr barrier, which is awesome right now. Seidr barrier is Seidr, I don't know what the pronunciation of this ice is, but it is such a good ice. Oh my god, it's probably the best barrier in the game right now. Alright, so we're going to go jam the... We got super lucky here. So we got Seidr barrier, we draw first to see Braintrust, jam the Braintrust, and put the ice on the remote. So now we can get up to 6 points, which isn't any better than being at 4 points, to be honest. We really would like that to have been Obokata, but he would have got it off the top of R&D. So the question then is, are we going to res this ice? It's an IP block. It taxes him 3 credits, so it's a very good ratio for tax to res. So we'll do that. Get him to pay 3. We want him to be taxed as much as possible. If we just let him in over and over again, even if he ends up stealing nothing, he's not spending any money, so the remote gets weaker effectively. So the idea here is that we really want to tax money as much as possible to dissuade the run, dissuade multiple runs. Okay, so we find another vanilla. We're going to double advance that Braintrust and throw this vanilla on somewhere. I definitely want him to think that this vanilla is Obokata. And the reason I want him to, whoops, so we're going to put this not on HQ, we're going to put it on R&D. Because now he knows what that is. We want to scare him. I know that sounds weird, we just want to scare the runner, but we actually do, because Cortex Lock is very expensive, DNA Tracker is expensive, but it's expensive for both of us. But keeping the unknown in place is very important so that Turning Wheel doesn't just rack up counters, rack up counters, rack up counters. We want to make him go elsewhere, or just take a turn off. So the double advancing the Braintrust is important for one reason. So, oh man, so if it wasn't a Braintrust, it was Obokata, we would have been in such good shape right now, but we're not. That's okay. We're in okay shape, 6-0. Fast track, not what we wanted to see. We're going to take some money and pass the turn. So we're at 6 points to 0, but we are not out of the woods yet. Because that wasn't Obokata Protocol, we just couldn't out and out win, which would have been better. We're going to now have to score one more agenda and hopefully not lose by then. He's going to Omar run archives, and I think we're going to res this IP block. There's really, well, no, we're going to let him through. There's nothing in HQ we care about, but R&D we don't care about either right now. He can see as many turning wheels as he wants. He unfortunately does mill our fast track. Not mill, I'm sorry, maul our fast track. Well, we get an Ash. So Ash into the remote, and we're feeling pretty good right now about our chances with our 6 points to 0. And let's see, I'm just going to click for some credits and toss it back. Now, what are our opponent's options? Now, definitely going to run an Omar run here on R&D. So he's going to run R&D with Omar. We're going to res our IP block and just tax him a couple credits. It's no big deal. And we're going to hopefully not lose on R&D here, because it's very possible he could go runner, runner, runner. There aren't that many cards left in the deck. But we have seen 3 agendas, so only 7 left in the deck. He's going to draw, and what else has he got? Just drawing some cards. So we're sitting pretty good right now. With our Nisei counter, we have Ash in the remote. We have, well, we're going to draw a useless card. There's a Cortex Lock. That's pretty good here. Let's put the Cortex Lock on archives. We'll draw first and then put it on archives. We find another one. So this is insanely taxing for an Omar, the running reg suite. So he's going to run HQ and Ma's our Cortex Lock. He might actually think at this point that he got both of them, or we haven't seen both of them. We did end up seeing both of them. But he should know that it's there, because he saw them, I believe. With Turning Wheel. And so, running R&D, we're just going to res some ice, like res the vanilla. At this point, we just want to get some sort of agenda. Not really sure how we're going to get past this R&D lock. It's pretty solid right now. I'm just going to have to draw past it and try to jam in a remote, or jam into the remote, excuse me. So runs HQ, sees nothing, Celebrity Gift, trashes Batty off top. Now we find our Seidr Adaptive Barrier. Now this is serious tech against Reg Anarchs and basically any barrier breaker right now. This card gets out of control. Seidr Barrier is one of the best barriers, I'd say, right now in the game, just for how modular it is. So the more ice you have, the bigger it gets, which makes it effectively like an IQ, but IQ is just too expensive usually to play. Sorry, an IQ and CI. So we get an Omar run on Archives, and he's going to install the MK Ultra and break it, but it's going to cost him 7 credits total, and then 3 more through the IP block, so a total of 10 credits for the server. That is an expensive run for 2 ice that cost me 4 credits. And no, it doesn't see anything. Oh, and he does see. He sees the Obokata Protocol. He's going to film critic that, so that's good for him. And now I guess he's thinking of whether he's going to use the film critic ability to just take the agenda, or whether he's going to do something else. He's really not in any pressure, under any pressure, because the R&D is kind of clear for him, but he's going to take the Obokata anyway. Okay, so we find Hedge Fund, and we are really poor, so we're just going to take some credits. Our opponent, however, is dripping economy like a madman, so he's got 3 credits every turn. He's got a couple credits left on liberated accounts, and every single time he runs something with a trash cost and doesn't trash it, he gets a buck back, so that's really good. So looks like Crunchums is going to make a run on HQ. He's going to clear that Hedge Fund out of our hand, which is great because we really wanted that. We weren't able to play it last turn by 1 credit, so now we're not going to play it at all. Our economy is looking pretty poor, I have to say. We just want to stabilize. Oh no, and we draw the worst thing possible, so we can't even play this IPO off our 5 credits. So we're just going to click back up, and we're probably going to lose this to Ma once again. That is miserable. But lucky for us, he's not really running R&D. He's going to run HQ a bunch of times, get some turning wheel counters, and then run R&D with an Omar run. And just try to lock us out effectively. We are so close to scoring out, so close to the last point. Oh, there's our Obokata. That's great. Let's jam it in the remote. We have to. And go for it. Jam in the remote and gain some credits. So he's probably thinking that he's maybe seen all the cards, but he did not see this one. He's going to drip some economy. He's got a lot of money. And our remote is looking a little scary right now. However, the DNA tracker is doing a ton of work. So if he wants to crash the DNA tracker, he'll probably end up at too few cards in hand to actually steal the Obokata. So he'll have to put it on Film Critic. So it gives us an extra turn if we really need it, if he runs too late. But the DNA tracker's subs also sap his credits, so if he ends up running through it, we have Ash, so we have a lot of defense here. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do in the following turns. We're just probably going to click for credits, click for a credit and advance twice, and hope that that's enough, I guess. It really isn't, though. It's not enough. He's got a ton of credits. Well, we're just... and here's a stim hack, so I'm going to res the Seidr barrier, Seidr barrier, whatever. He's going to pay through it, and we're just going to lose this agenda. There's not much we can do about it. It is going to tax him out quite a lot, though, so he'll probably end up just, let's see, what's he going to do? Take the damage? I don't think he actually has Black Orchestra, or does he? He does. Okay, so Black Orchestra, that's going to cost him a lot of credits. So it's a 3 to install, and then 3 more, so, or 6 more, so 9. And I think he takes 1 sub for that. Yep. Oops, and we had a little bug with firing the sub actually into the run somehow, so we're going to make him rerun. and he's going to probably steal his Obokata. I don't know what we can do at this point. We just need to find a 2-3 agenda, or a Batty would be great. Another thing we can do here is he's going to rerun, and we could just oh no, sorry, my mistake. I used the Nisei to end the run. That was my mistake. So yes, he can go back through there, probably spending all of his money to get in. That was my mistake. So I really like this Palana deck. It's one of those decks that you feel performs well in ideal circumstances, very, very well in ideal circumstances. But I recently took this to Store Championship and didn't do so well with it. It was basically the exact same list. I changed one or two things. I actually took out the Obokatas and put food in on recommendation from a friend, and I kind of wish I had kept the Obokatas in, because there wasn't that much film critic on the day, and it would have saved me a couple times. But there are games where you just don't draw agendas, and you only draw ice and money, and then you get locked in the remote, and you just can't score. And that is the worst feeling. And I feel like that's one of the ways this deck really loses. The other way is just if you get agenda flooded. So you kind of need to have the perfect or a sensible amount of agendas to ice and money ratio for this deck to really flourish. So we've got an archives run here, just a standard archives run. Maybe he was thinking that he just didn't have enough money to get through that remote. He didn't have 6 for the Seidr, 6 more for the DNA, and then 1 more for the vanilla, and then beating the trace. Okay, so yeah, his rationale here is that he wasn't going to be able to trace me out, and I was going to be able to score the 2-3 anyway, so he's checking archives. I still think you have to go through and trash the ash, and then possibly draw into another stim hack. I think that's the only out here, but I might be wrong. So he's checking archives, nothing there. And now he's got a couple clicks left. The big problem here is that our ice are so taxing for the Anarch breakers that really he can't make that many more runs. So he probably is going to make an Omar run again. I believe he hasn't made one yet. And see R&D. That's kind of scary. But Ma has done some serious work this game. Here's the Omar run. So it looks like he's going to let the Cortex Lock sub fire, which is huge, actually, because 3 net damage is nothing to scoff at. If we were running some sort of net damage, we aren't in this version, but we were in a previous version, and if we were running a bit more, it would have been... This would be a good place to have it. So he's going to see a bunch of cards, and something gets bugged here on Jinteki.net. He actually sees 5 cards instead of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that is way too many. And I think he should have seen 3 cards. So we're going to have a little discussion here about what happened, but it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. Like, we're going to advance. He's going to be very poor, and we have Ash in the remote, so he's not going to have a whole lot of options. He can definitely crash through the remote one more time, I think, just drawing up and running. But he's already seen all those cards, so there's really nothing there. So just a little conversation about how to fix it or whether we need to, but we don't. We just let it go, because it wouldn't have mattered anyway. We'll start the turn, see a shipment. Does not matter. Just advance, and credit up. Not trying to do anything cheeky like single advance, because he's going to run HQ. There we go. So he's got a draw here for a stim hack. But I think we have this locked down. So he's going to take credits and make a run on this remote. He's going to hope it's Batty and that he can beat the Psy game, which I think is a reasonable thing to think. But he knows it's an Ash because it happened earlier. So, okay, he's going to take some damage. He goes down to a couple credits, and then we're going to trace him out. And that is that. So my opponent played very well. Props to him, and thank you for letting me use these games as best of 3 series. I had a great time, and I also learned a lot about how to play Palana correctly. I love the deck. I really do. It's one of my favorite go-to decks on Jiteki.net. It might not be anymore. This was pre-MWL 2.1, and after MWL 2.1, with Rumor Mill and this relying too heavily on Batty and Ash, I don't know if it's really that viable anymore. But it was a great deal of fun to play, and I just want to thank my opponent for giving me some tips along the way. So if you're thinking about taking a Palana deck, some things definitely have to change. I would consider slotting Gingergrid instead of Ash, and I might consider slotting, I don't know, maybe keeping the baddies just because the value is so high. But you definitely need to have some sort of current, because you have no 0-2 agendas that are really worth, in faction that really combo with your ability. You do have one, but it's not really worth playing. And I would recommend playing Gingergrid in place of Ash, and maybe a different suite of ice with the Seidr barriers, for sure. But I think that it could still work. And I think it could still work because the rudder econ is slowed down quite a lot. So it's something to think about, and we might try it in the future, an updated version of Palana, TF34 build with Gingergrids instead. So thank you all for watching, and we will catch you next time on Hidden Assets. Take care.